Hi, I'm Phil Hodgkinson, and you're listening to...
And he takes the chance! Oh, what a night! The fairy tale season has the happiest ending!
Welcome to episode 45 of the Andy Takes That Chance podcast. Coming up, we discuss the win against local rivals Barnsley, the EDT players making a splash, and the upcoming 6 games. Should we now view them with a little bit of excitement or a little bit of trepidation? And we'll discuss a little bit more. Joining me today, as usual, is the mouse to the danger. It's Mr. Neil Wayne. And with a new series of BoJack Horseman on Netflix, it only feels right to say, what is this, a crossover episode? We've hijacked Stephen Chicken from behind the Examiner paywall, and he's here with us today. Andy Takes That Chance. Good evening, chaps.
Hey, how's it going?
Good evening.
Right, how is everything at the Examiner these days, Stephen? Everything going well? It seems to be rising in popularity as well.
Yeah, pretty good. We've had some decent feedback on our pieces, which is always nice to read. I know the paywall is, not to everyone's taste. I can't really talk about it too much, I suppose. But thank you for those who have done it. And thank you to everyone who does listen to our rival podcast as well, which is called Utubia. If you search for that on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts, we have an irregular release schedule, and that seems to be going down really well as well. But no, I'm enjoying it. I've been there 6 months or so now, and still really enjoying it. Nice to see some wins as well.
I think there's always room for both, isn't there? I think you can't get enough quality as a town fan.
I think we've all got an uncanny knack of being able to plug podcasts at any given moment, wherever we are. It gets in. So,
you have to do it.
We'll give you that one.
First, so let's discuss some exciting changes. So Cozzy isn't missing from the podcast at the moment because he's been tucked away at X Factor judges' houses working with the finest vocal coaches in the UK. Instead, I want to say a big thank you to the hugely talented Chris Carter for performing our new musical intro. And Chris will be involved with some more musical productions over the course of the season, which I'm very excited about. Neil, I've kept this as a sneaky surprise for you, but what are your first thoughts on the new intro?
Yep, spot on that. Thanks a lot, Chris. Nice to have something a little bit different.
Secondly, we've got some huge news as well. So we have just signed a 2-season sponsorship arrangement with Magic Rock Brewing. This is something that we're absolutely ecstatic about and are really proud to be associated with such a quality brand such as Magic Rock, Neil. What this means is that we will be able to purchase some new equipment, which hopefully we'll be start using for the first time over the next few weeks. What this should allow us to do is improve the quality and the content quality that we're producing, and also give me some time back as well, because instead of editing for 4 or 5 hours, this will hopefully improve that as well. So I want to say a big thank you to Richard Burhouse and Vic at Magic Rock for making this happen. And what became obvious, Neil, when we went to meet them was that we shared a lot of similar values as well about community itself, and there's a real opportunity for the podcast to highlight and work on important causes within the community, such as the work we've already done with Andy's Man Club and Huddersfield Street Kitchen.
There's a great synergy between the two. Obviously, the classic one is beer and football, always goes well together. But obviously, they've got, like I say, a lot of the same values. The community stuff that they do is obviously very close to basically everything that I do when I'm not here. And as a podcast, we're proud to back things like Andy's Man Club and Huddersfield Street Kitchen and the Town Foundation. And also now with Magic Rock getting on board, we're happy to back them with their projects as well.
I thought Sean Jarvis was in the room then. I did wonder why
I've learned well.
I did wonder why you were wearing those shirts with the Magic Rock sashes on when I turned up this evening.
We actually did that, didn't we, for the previous sponsor? So what this sponsorship will allow us to do is move from just a regular podcast into the realms of fanzine now. So it is exciting. And as I click this button, I can now declare that our new website, www.takesthatchance.com, is now live. So by the time you listen to this recording, our website will be up and running, and there'll be a couple of stories and match reports for you to read in our new articles section as well. So thank you. Also, thanks to everybody that got in touch and expressed an interest as well with regards to sponsorship. We got quite a lot of good advice as well, which is also very well appreciated. Neil, you went to the fireworks display as well on Sunday. It looked like an excellent
I go every year.
production.
I go every year. Last few have obviously been down at Canal Side. And this one, for obvious reasons, the canal side doesn't exist anymore. There's now a football pitch where it all used to be.
Trenches in there, isn't there?
Yeah, so it was all done in the St Andrews car park. Brilliantly organised, fantastic as always. They get great support from. There was actually a little plug. There were a Magic Rock van there as well.
All right.
So they were serving on the night, which was nice. Good to see quite a few of the players there who weren't actually officially at the event, which it just shows you sort of the club we are all about, where players can go and mix in the community.
So that was
stuff with
in
the fans.
addition to Fraser Campbell.
In addition to Fraser Campbell and
Lewis
O'Brien who
O'Brien,
had to be there, there was at least Schindler and Ryan Schofield there as well with their families, which is always good to see. Saw quite a lot of our listeners there as well. That was nice to go and have a chat, and I met quite a few of the guys from the organisation from the HFC business side who put on a great event again, to be fair. Shout out to Steph for sorting all that out, and nice to have a chat with Tom and Adam Tomlinson while we're there as well.
Excellent. So Huddersfield 2, Barnsley 1, a big result and moves us up to 20th place in the table, so nosebleed territory for us after considering the last 12 months that we've had. A couple of little stats before we get into a couple of the talking points. So we had 54.4% possession, 66% passing accuracy, 11 shots, 4 on target, 23 tackles, and XG, expected goals, something I'm not fully on board with, was 1.71. It depends too much, I think, doesn't it, on someone's opinion.
It doesn't work so much in individual games. It's quite a useful tool if you look at a number of games as a predictor of the way that things might be moving, but used in an individual game, it's basically meaningless.
Is this? I'm just a random question. I'm hoping when you two know answer. Is this the first time we've been out of bottom three for well over a season?
No, I think they got out of the. They
was it after
did get
Stoke or something?
Yeah,
they got out for a short period. Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, and then we went straight. Was it the next day we went back in? Didn't we? Yeah, I think Reading put us back in, didn't they? When they won,
didn't they?
Yeah. So talking points. So just a couple of talking points. So we discussed last week about the blend in midfield, and Stephen, you wrote a little bit on this in the Examiner as well, whereby we perhaps thought Chalobah, a Chalobah player that I've always liked, Jonathan Hogg and O'Brien perhaps lacked a little balance in there. Maybe it was a little weighted defensively. Bakuna was included for the first time for a little while. Our poll last week that we did was 59% in favour of starting Juninho Bakuna. How do you think he got on?
Not
Stephen?
Great, in truth. It is the first time he started since Jan Sievert left the club, I believe. Obviously, he'd had those 3 games where he'd come off the bench and scored, and then another game where he had come off the bench and not really done anything in truth against Middlesbrough. But I think on the strength of the 3 of the 4 games before then, he deserved his start. He was fine, but he showed what he has done before, which is that he's capable of moments of extraordinary skill. He's a very exciting player, and I think that's why he was included, because he does a lot more in the final third than pretty much any of Town's fit midfield options at the moment. Particularly Chalobah, who has looked a bit lost when he's got into the final third recently. But the problem with Bakuna is that he is still quite erratic in the first 2/3 of the field. He takes more touches than he needs to, and his passing is sometimes a bit. He plays risky balls at times when he doesn't need to.
70% pass.
He does some daft stuff, doesn't he?
He does.
I mean, he gave away a free kick, and that was his last touch on Saturday. Yeah. He gave away a daft free kick on edge of the box, which were very, very dangerous at that point, and he got subbed immediately after that. But Stephen's right. He is probably our best influence out of midfield going forward, but the sort of defending 2/3 is scary.
Do you think then, Neil, it was a good day for Jonathan Hogg to come back in and put in a performance like he did as well?
Johnny Hogg has had a lot of detractors this season, but you can never deny his will to win and his want to win and his desire. And I think a lot of his sort of negative presses, I think he brings it on himself for how he is. When he's tub thumping, chest beating and what have you, when we're doing well, it's seen as a great thing. When he's doing it when we're not doing so well, it gets decried quite a lot. But he was back to his excellent best on Saturday for me. I thought it was really, really good.
Yeah, I think he's definitely. It's a comment we've made a lot, but he's I think when he play, and similar to what you were saying, Neil, when he plays well, Town are playing well, and vice versa. And when Town are not playing well, he's not playing well, and vice versa. He's like the weather vane, isn't he, for whether Town are doing well or not.
Yes.
So finally, when the Cowleys came, Stephen, they came with this great reputation of being creative with set pieces and free kicks. And I think finally we've seen a Danny Cowley or Cowley brother free kick routine work. Danny Simpson, ball down the line. It's that sort of ball down the line they seem to like to play at Lincoln. Into Karlan Grant. Karlan Grant got into the channel and put the ball across. And, he's not had to look up there. And Schindler's known. You could see it's planned because Schindler's coming in at a fast stick. He knows where that ball's going. And it's good to see that some of the training ground work that's gone on is starting to bear a little bit of fruit there.
Yeah, Town's first goal from a set piece this season, I believe. And certainly their first goal by a defender this season. I think that ball was designed that whoever got a touch on it was putting it in.
It was
there were 3 other runners that all feasibly could have got on it. But yeah, I mean, it's Nicky Cowley, I think, that is sort of the set piece maestro. He's also big on throw-ins. They've only scored 1 from a throw-in since the Cowleys came in as well. I think that was Bakunas against Hull. But yeah, it's nice to see them scoring from a set piece rather than conceding from them as they have in other games and should have done 3 times against Middlesbrough.
He actually said, didn't he, Nicky Cowley? I think they had a full car journey of about an hour and a half just talking about throw-ins.
Yeah.
Which shows you the detail and the sort of, obsession is probably the right word for them. They are literally obsessed with it, aren't they?
It was interesting. They talked when we spoke to Cowley about Jaden Brown recently. He was saying they wanted him to improve on his throw-ins. They'd been working specifically on one where he sort of a skipper where he throws it into the ground and it bobs along. And I noticed him doing that a few times during the game against Barnsley. So you can see it's starting to go in there. I think the set pieces that has not quite been their priority in terms of attacking set pieces over the last few weeks, but since they came in. But I think we're now going to start to see more and more goals and an attacking threat from set pieces. Hopefully, anyway.
Let's hope so.
So one thing that we've been treated to. So, I've seen recently Cozzy's doing a Brentford preview today, and they wanted to know some of the differences between the Premier League and the Championship, and there are a number of different ones. But one of the main differences, I think, between the Premier League and the Championship is that teams in the Premier League are generally ruthless. Yeah. And what we've seen, especially against Middlesbrough, Neil, and again yesterday, we've seen some absolute sitters, haven't we, come and go. And that Barnsley one was a nice move, to be fair to them. The little ball around the corner was very good, and the run off the ball. But a little bit of luck going our way again.
Nice to see. It's about time, isn't it? We've not been punished for everything. I mean, let's be fair, the Middlesbrough one, wow.
There were, as I say, there were 3 where they really should have, they were absolute sitters.
Yeah, absolutely.
Bradford lad, that Fletcher, it's ingrained over there.
But, well, he missed that one. Sombalonga would, and even a remotely informed Sombalonga would have absolutely buried that when he got left 1-on-1.
Yeah.
And he just sort of
as well.
were completely devoid of any kind of faith in himself there, which were obviously lucky for us on the day. Barnsley, we went to sleep, didn't we? Literally, a minute or 2 after we'd scored. And is it McGeehan that went through? Yeah. And he's got to score that, hasn't he? But like you say, we're just getting maybe the luck of the ones that were going in at the start of the season now aren't. And it's well deserved. They're putting a lot of hard work in. You can clearly see that the players are giving everything at the moment.
Yeah.
Is it pretty 90 minutes? Far from it. But at the moment, it's effective, and they're putting everything in, and they're getting some rewards, and it's well deserved as we stand.
It is interesting. I downloaded like all the stats I could get my hands on. I think before the Barnsley game, trying to find out what are the differences been sort of before the Cowleys and since the Cowleys came in, and there was almost no difference except Town are more clinical, and the opposition weirdly are less clinical. But I think it is one of those situations where you make your own luck.
Absolutely,
and if you keep going for the full, not saying they're playing well for the full 90 minutes, but they keep it on going for the full 90 minutes. Yeah. They're not letting their heads go either. What happened before was they'd either go ahead and then drop deeper and deeper and deeper and invite teams on and on and on. That's stopped happening. The other thing is that they were in a phase, particularly against West Brom, where they would commit errors and then panic, try to get the ball back and completely lose their shape as a result. They've stopped doing that as well, largely. They did it against Blackburn, but then after Elphick made almost an identical mistake against Middlesbrough, they actually recovered properly and got players back. And you can see those improvements coming there, more and more. They're still having to dig in and ride their luck a bit at times, but you can't really complain too much when you're unbeaten in 6, given what
I think with things like that as well, I think you can see that they are putting the hours in on training ground. This is a lot of training ground stuff that's clearly coming to fruition, and hard work and repetition. That's what football is. That's what Wagner made his success on, hard work and repetition, and at the moment it's paying off for us.
They've been very pragmatic, the Cowleys. They've had a different game plan for every game, and to be fair, by and large, it's worked for them. As I say, they've had to ride their luck a bit, but that's true of any manager. Like even Jurgen Klopp has to get lucky sometimes.
He's got lucky a lot, I think, recently. But
well, Sheffield United springs to mind. As speaking as a Liverpool fan, there have been a few. Yeah.
Let's take a moment just to say how good that second goal from Huddersfield was. Lewis O'Brien forward plays it into Karlan Grant, quick as a flash onto his right foot in the inside channel and whips it in the top corner. Where I sat, I had an absolutely stunning view of that going in from the upper tier. It was a really fantastic strike.
Are you behind the goal, sort of behind that far?
No, I'm on the side. I'm not too far from where you are. But
okay, I was going to say, okay. Yeah, from the press box, it was perfect. It was one of them where almost as soon as it left his foot, you were up celebrating because you knew it was in straight. You could just see the trajectory of it.
Amazing strike. And Neil, you always bang the Karlan Grant drum because I think Karlan Grant's #1 fan, isn't he, as well? But
I have done since he came.
It shows his quality, doesn't it?
Yeah, he was the one last season that gave us a little bit of hope for this season, because obviously last season we know what happened. We don't need to go over that again. But he was sort of the shining light into what was a dismal end. 4 goals in dozen games, something like that. Yeah. And not many of those were full games either. So that was a good record in a team that couldn't score, and to score 8 already this season in a team that's only last month started looking anything like a team, is again a great return. And I don't buy into this where people say he's got a few penalties, still got to score them.
Yeah, exactly.
You've still got to put them away, and he's putting those away very, very well. They're all been good penalties, but that goal on Saturday, it just showed his quality. It was, I know that we're in box. It was very reminiscent to his sort of turn and strike away at West Ham last season, when he sort of turned, made his space and buried it in top corner, and he's done that again. And the lad is full. He's full of quality, and at that, what is he, 21, 22? 22. He's only going to get better and more confident, and he will carry on scoring goals. And I can guarantee you, January, we are going to start getting bids. It's going to happen because people want a striker like that.
He's just got those instincts. He's got like that thing that you can't teach. He just always knows where the goal is. Yeah. Like there's a lot of players who have the technique, but can get caught out if they're playing on the turn or with their back to goal. But I mean, you look at goals like he scored against Barnsley or the one he scored against Hull, where he was facing completely away from goal. Pure instinct, and both goals put into the opposite corners of the same goal. Yeah. Just brilliant. Yeah, he's
good place to sit behind that goal, isn't it? With Karlan around.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, that
fantastic
game,
media
I actually be right behind that goal.
You're in the box, weren't you?
Yeah, we're in the box that game, and we had the perfect view of all three for that one, which was a refreshing change. Getting 3 in a game were a refreshing change.
Let alone all at the same end, refreshing drinks after maybe as well for that.
But he's looking all round top class. And when you talk about strikers in the Championship now, and kind of money they go for, I don't think it's a stretch to say No, but I don't think it's a stretch to say it starts with a 2. Yeah, to be honest, because that's the money that they're going for. And
it's a position of strength as well, isn't it? That we're in because of the contract, and he's playing well. He's playing for the club. You can see he's enjoying himself. It's not like a billing situation where he's
the Cowleys have very clearly said as well that he's one of the leaders in the dressing room.
Yes, he is. That's been the case all summer.
Quite a funny personality, hasn't he?
Yeah, he a few players said that to me when I went out to Austria, that he's the social organizer. He's like he's only been there 9 months now. He'd only been there 5 months at the time we were out there, and he's like he's the social glue. He's
party organizer.
But he brings. I think he brings people into the group. He's actually quite a quiet quietly spoken guy when you see him. Obviously, that's in front of us. He's probably different behind the scenes. But if he comes out for interviews, he's very quietly spoken, and got his but he's obviously got that social presence, which is really important. I think they've got a real job on their hands. I don't think he'll go in January, but I think they've got a real job on their hands trying to convince him to stay beyond next summer, to be completely honest.
Well, we've got a section on Karlan Grant coming up, and at the end of that, I had an email, but I might as well bring it in now since we discussed.
Let's just do the section since we're on it.
So we've had some fan mail. I'm going to call it fan mail. I've had one email from a guy in Australia because he doesn't do social media, so I'm going to class it as fan mail just for my own, just for our ego.
Do you have a mailbag jingle?
I need to bring one in. It's from Duncan Hall in Australia, who's emailed. He says, "We talked in the last podcast who we should be looking at offloading in the mid-season transfer window. His biggest concern is losing Karlan Grant. If we get a bid for him in January of, say, 15 to 20 million, do we let him go and lose our best goal scorer? And regardless of our thoughts, do you think the club will let him go for the right bid?"
No, I don't think they can in January.
No, not a cat in hell's chance he's leaving in January.
No.
I think it's the standard case with Huddersfield in the Championship, though, where players can sometimes outgrow the football club too quickly, and the football club can't grow enough with them. So I think
next summer's a different story. If he finishes this season on 20 goals, which is more than feasible as it stands,
25 he could be heading towards.
In the Championship on that kind of level, it begins with a 2. He's going for a lot of money, and unfortunately, the way football is, we're still in this league next season. The chances of Karlan Grant being in this league next season are very, very slim if he carries on that trajectory.
And that's just real. It's not pessimism. It's just realism, isn't it?
Complete realism, And it's not about saying the club shouldn't sell, the club shouldn't do this. It's not to do with club. Let's be fair. Karlan Grant has all the power. If he wants to go and play at Premier League next season, we get him bids, he's going.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that.
I think it's a case of the club. For us to keep Karlan Grant long term, I think the club have got to look like we're going back towards the Premier League.
Yeah, they've got to
the players going, isn't it?
They'd have to convince him of those ambitions. He's on for 26 goals, by the way. I've just quickly worked it out.
1.5 million rising to 2. What a steal that was.
I mean, this is the thing. People quite rightly criticise some of the signings they made last season, but you can't overlook that when you're doing the overall analysis.
No.
Like, he's arguably the signing of 2019.
You could say it's the signing of the Premier League.
Yeah, exactly.
In many ways. The whole entire Premier League.
Absolutely.
Especially for value for money. That's
well, when you consider he'll probably get sold for more than anybody who was bought in the Premier League era.
Yeah.
We'll come back to Karlan in a minute, but we'll talk about strikers in terms of the game. And another striker who we thought he'd broken his duck a little bit is Elias Kachunga, who's working extremely hard up and down both sides. He's playing left side a little bit to help out Jayden Brown, which doesn't look quite as natural as maybe what the right hand side does. Him and Diakabi have swapped over a little bit. I felt a bit bad for him. It was a bit of a bad miss, wasn't it? At 2-0. If you're going to miss, make sure you do it at 2-0 and we win the game. So that wasn't too bad. If
he actually missed another one as well, didn't he?
Yeah, I'm going to go But if Town at that point really looked dominant, and do you think maybe if Kachunga's put that in, then maybe we win by 3 or 5?
Kills the game off.
Absolutely. Barnsley's goal. Barnsley scored. Good finish from I think it's Jacob Brown, is it, who scored for them? Very close to our own. I thought we saw the game really, but considering they scored around the 80-minute mark, I felt relatively unthreatened for a lot of it. I thought we used the ball well in their half to actually see the game out, and to take your phrase, Neil, there was some good shithousing going on for us.
And it's when he put 6 minutes up, you could hear the groans, and I think that's just inbuilt from being a Town fan. You think, here we go. But that 6 minutes actually passed pretty much eventless.
They were completely professional, kept the ball in the corner. They even had a corner that they didn't send anyone up for, didn't they?
And I think 7, if you go back to before this run started, would have probably drawn on Saturday 2 or even thrown it completely.
Because they did have a moment, because that goal there was 5 minutes of pressure before that goal, and you felt like it was coming.
Yeah, it did.
And then for another 3 minutes after that you still felt a bit on edge.
And fair play to Barnsley, it took it well. It was a good goal.
Yeah. But they calmed it down. Town, to be fair, like they had a moment of at the end of a week where they'd had a stomach bug, and you could have changed the name of this podcast to Andy Cakes Those Pants. they had a moment where they looked like that might be returning, but they gathered themselves and they, as you say, they saw out the game really, really well for the last, it was 15 minutes in the end by the time you had the injury time added on, which was good to see.
Yeah, fantastic. And one thing that we've been saying on Andy Cakes These Pants for the last while is I'm David Wagner's number one fan. I'm pretty much wear the blue cap and big fan of David Wagner. But I can see one thing that David Wagner's sides didn't do was if we were under pressure, we were very polite. We were a nice team, and we might have gone down easy in certain things, but we never really wasted time or got the ball in the corner and did some of the dark arts. And it's not something I love, but it's good to see the professionalism coming to see the game out from the Cowleys, and they're bringing something different that we've not had for quite a while. And I think that's Stephen's smiling, but I think that's perhaps a good thing.
It's what you see from other teams in it, and you have a sort of a
don't
big
hate the player, hate the game,
of
kind of thing.
And it's needed, and the position we're in. I mean, let's not sugarcoat it, and they don't. We're still in a relegation scrap as it stands now. Mm-hmm. And you've got to be savvy and about yourself and know what's going on and know how to see a game out. And we haven't had that for best part of 2 years. We just been nowhere near that.
Been many games to see out as the
well, no. I mean, let's be fair. We've won more in this last month than we won last season.
But it's even during the game to get in winning positions. It's not just about seeing games. I agree with you fully, but it's about trying to get in front by little things and little.
They are playing the game a little bit more with drawing fouls and reacting to fouls and convincing the referee that they've been fouled.
We never, under David Wagner, we never crowded the referee.
All the Elphick let us down against Middlesbrough. He got up far too quick from that elbow.
Yeah, he was. But too honest, Tommy.
He should have still been running around now.
Yeah, he still should have been rolling like Neymar. That Neymar meme used to go.
But yeah, I mean, and sort of subtle time wasting when at times when they're ahead in the game and things like that. Nothing that's going to get close to drawing a yellow card. Although I think they have had one yellow card for time wasting. I think against
Dan
Stoke.
Simpson, was it?
Yeah.
But even then, it's like taking throw-ins from the wrong position and getting waved forward. It's little things like that which you notice. And
remember Bakker with kicking that little free kick away just before the linesman got it in the head and lost his contact lens.
And then he went,
and there was a little flare up, wasn't there?
I'll have to show you a picture. I've got a picture of that linesman's hair, and it at the back he's got like a bald head, but he's got like a line of hair down the bald patch. It looks like a bum on the back of his head. It's amazing. One player that we're saying last week looks to be back to his best. Big favourite of ours, big favourite of everybody's is Christopher Schindler. How do you think he's done? Stephen, I've noticed this week he's been named in the WhoScored.com championship team of October, which is great. He's got a rating of 7.39, which is the highest I think among the town players, which puts him as the centre back alongside Morrison from Cardiff, ex-Huddersfield.
Yep.
In the back line, and also Matty Cash as well at right back, who's had a good month as well for Nottingham Forest. So do you think Christopher Schindler's back as well? Are we seeing the best of him, or do you think he can even take it up another level as well?
Put it this way, Dave Hartrick, who's a regular on our podcast, as people who listen to Utubia, available on iTunes and other podcast services now.
Dave could have been renamed Pootabia last week.
Dave Hartrick wrote on I sit next to Dave Hartrick whenever I can in the press box, and he wrote on my, because he can't talk because he's doing the opt, but he wrote on my team sheet Schindler's best game since 2017. And then because he's a massive Brighton fan, he wrote under, and is Tommy Elphick's number one fanboy, wrote underneath, and still Knockdown's best defender, which I don't think he quite meant, to be perfectly honest. I mean, I think it's fair to say Schindler had a bit of a dip, as did a lot of the team, sort of under Sievert and under Hudson, and wasn't at his best even in the first couple of games under the Cowleys. But the last few games, he's been an absolute rock. Obviously, Elphick's made a few errors, but to be fair, the two of them have actually started to form a partnership, whereas early in the season they looked like, and understandably because they'd never played together before, they looked like two strangers, whereas now they look like they're starting to look more and more like a proper pairing.
Before, though, there's a common denominator part of this as well. Danny Simpson has made a league of difference to this back four. The fact that we've got Jayden Brown playing, we spoke about this last week, I won't harp on too much, but Jayden Brown last week and the previous week since Congolo's been out, a proper left back.
Not missed him.
No, not at all.
We do the team selector where fans pick the team, and Jaden Brown is getting like 96-97% of the selection, which is like up there with like Grabara and Simpson and Grant. It's not.
I would say that's probably because I think Town fans see him as our only left back as well. Because Congolo, you would say centre back, wouldn't you?
That is true, but
he's still good. Yeah.
But he's exactly, like, considering he played one senior game, and
Lad's
again,
doing well,
I know you talked about him last week.
Doing well,
he played one senior game of football before this season.
It's no coincidence that both full-backs are playing really well, and that immediately strengthens your two centre-backs because they feel instantly safer.
And it's not like Simpson's been amazing, but he's been reliable.
Yeah.
Like, he's been doing a 7 out of 10 job, which is all you need at that level. From your fullbacks, that's what you need. It's the same as Chris Lerver was. Chris Lerver was never a 9 out of 10 player, like rarely, but he was a very solid and dependable 7, and that's what you need from your fullbacks at this level.
I think you've got to hail the influence Danny Simpson's had behind the scenes as well. We hear from Leicester fans and from the Cowlers as well that he's a very good influence on the younger players as well. So Danny Simpson to me seems to be a great signing on and off the field. So long may that continue as well. I think what's fair to say as well, I think Tommy Elphick got a few pelters, didn't he, after Middlesbrough? Yeah. I thought he was back to a decent performance in that back four on Saturday as well.
The thing is, he's dropped 3 or 4 absolute clangers, which it's hard to look past.
Yeah.
But if you do look past those, he's actually done pretty well considering the start of the season we had, and then in this run, he's been a constant part of that. And you've got to. I mean, I gave him some credit on Twitter the week and got shouted down because you can't possibly give Elphick any praise, but
not allowed.
He is a lightning rod for criticism.
Yeah, he is.
He'd just started to turn the. We did like a feature on the site which was like not keep or sell. It was hit or miss for all the signings they'd made, and Elphick I was surprised, got like 73% approval. Okay. And that was just before the Blackburn game. I think if we'd done it 2 weeks before or a week after, it would have been 50-50 or probably even 60-40 against. But he's just starting to turn the corner before that Blackburn game.
And then he made the Blackburn error.
Yeah, I think if he goes another 4 or 5 games just being solid and dependable like he was against Barnsley, then and even in the Blackburn and Middlesbrough games, he was doing good stuff other than the 2 mistakes that he made. You know, his stats are up there with or close to Schindler. And when Schindler was off form, he was exceeding Schindler in a lot of games.
Positionally, he's very good, isn't he?
Yeah.
He knows what he's doing. He knows where to be. It's like Danny Simpson. They're both positionally really good, and they're both strengthening. You know, their experience is really strengthening.
Makes up for his lack of pace, to be fair.
He does.
Now O'Brien gets it back from Jaden Brown. So strong on the ball, O'Brien. Goes past Anderson again and finds Grant in space. Grant shot! 2-0 Huddersfield Town! A right-footed curler high into the top corner. And that should be that for Town against a weakening Barnsley, I'm afraid. It's 2-0.
Right, let's move on to our first topic of the evening, and that is Mr. Wayne and Mr. Kosmala's favourite Londoner, which is Karlan Grant. I'll ask you this, his double-barrelled surname seems to have come back a little bit in some places. His Ahern Grant seems to have reappeared. I don't know if this is a bit of a Zanka Jorgensen Sky Sports moment or whether he's...
I think he's still in some databases as Ahern Grant. He definitely dropped the Ahern when he was still at Charlton over a year ago. I think he's probably still in the Opta database or the PA database or something like that as Ahern Grant.
I think Ahern's his mother's name, and his mother's from Scotland, so I would imagine Ricky Sprague and the Scottish Scouts should be down pretty soon having a look at him, because having a look at Scotland's team, I think he could make a difference there. But right, so Karlan Grant. Something that we've talked about on here at length is Karlan Grant wide rather than central. It's something I've advocated. And I've got a few basic stats. I'm going to incur Neil's wrath here because I've not included penalties because I want to talk about positionally. We'll talk about positionally. So, you know,
positionally, he's placed them all very well.
See, that Blackburn one, I had a great view of the Blackburn one. It was just postage stamp.
Yeah, it was so good. Just,
the great thing is when we get a penalty, and I'm never usually this confident. Neil, you know, as a Huddersfield fan, you're never fully confident of anything.
Never, absolutely not.
As soon as we got a penalty at Blackburn, I thought 1-0, brilliant. Yeah, and it's brilliant to have that. And I I can't remember having a penalty take away. You just feel so much confidence when they step up.
It's the first time in years that they've had the same person take 3 in a row as well for Town.
Vaughan used to take them, but as Bradford fans have seen, he's useless if
I
he's
think
got
Naki
2
Wells
minutes.
was the last regular, and I
Naki
once saw him miss.
Naki wasn't bad actually.
I once saw him miss 2 in the same game though.
Fulham, wasn't it?
Against Fulham, the most ridiculous game I've ever seen, which we talked about before.
That was probably the best goalkeeping performance from Bettinelli.
Bettinelli, yeah.
He put in an absolutely outstanding performance.
Yeah,
that
9
day.
out of
It was
10.
ridiculous. But Karlan Grant, so we're looking at centre forward. It's to get a good sort of range of stats for this is difficult because most of Karlan's central roles come under Jan Sievert, so it's probably a little bit lopsided. And I think as the season goes on, we'll probably get a better view of how it's gone. So he started 9 games up front as a central striker, 3 goals. He scored 3 penalties as well in that time, so you can argue 3 or 6. I'm not bothered either way.
6.
So Town in that time have won 1, drawn 3, lost 5. So he's got a good 1 in 3 ratio, not including penalties. If you include penalties, it's 2 in 3. So Town 4 points from 9, but many of those under Jan, so it's difficult to kind of get something wide. Stats out wide, which I think are interesting. So because he doesn't play as a traditional wide man, it's kind of like a false winger where he comes in behind. The striker drops off and he goes into the space behind, which is quite interesting for me.
Cowley's described it in terms of being like Liverpool's front 3, where because when he plays wide, it's always Campbell as the centre forward.
Yeah.
They've explicitly said he's playing the Firmino role, the invisible 9, and that they see those 2 wingers, the inverted wingers, as 2 number 10s rather than a 7 and an 11, which is why Diakabi plays right whenever he plays and Kachunga goes to the left.
What's really interesting as well is when you can see when the game opens up, what the Cowleys do is they take Fraser Campbell off and they go Grant central because they know his pace can then hurt them through the middle, which I think is a really smart move as well. So we're talking about this sample size. So he's played 5 games. It's surprising actually. He's actually played 5 games wide left. He's got 2 goals, 2 assists. Town 2 wins, 1 draw, 2 defeats. So it coincides mostly with the Cowleys coming in. So it's, as I say about ignoring the sort of sample size. I like him. I think it releases him from the shackles of playing with his back to goal. I think his first touch back to goal is probably his major weakness in his linking. And I just think it takes that pressure off him having to lead a line at 21, 22 and allows him just to play with a bit more vigour, if you like, and play more towards his strengths. And I think long term, I see him as a number 9 when he sort of, because he will improve. No doubt he'll improve. Everything will get better as he gets older. I think long term we'll see him. And he reminds me a little bit of a Che Adams kind of player as well. How do you guys see this wide left move? Obviously, we don't want to see him as a traditional left-sided winger or anything like that. It has to be that coming in field kind of thing, like Mane does. But how do you see him, Neil? Because you're the Grant number 1 fan. You've got your foam finger on with Grant on over there, and it's okay to Grant.
He's a striker. He's a goal scorer. As Stephen said earlier on, it's not taught. It's complete instinct. You can't teach what he's got. Those last couple of goals against Hull and Barnsley have proved that. Just complete natural instinct. I don't disagree that further down the line is going to be central all the time, but at the moment, to get Campbell in the side as well, it works well. But like you say, I fully agree. He's not an out-and-out winger. He's definitely in the sort of, I don't want to compare him to people, but you just mentioned Mane, how they play with the 3. Yeah. That's how I see Grant as a 3. It's
like you said, 10, is it?
Yeah. Well, it's.
Should we go and say trequartista and stuff like that? And
well, it's
completely hipster.
I'm gonna use some sort of elite comparisons, but like Thierry Henry, David Villa, Fernando Torres, all like
David Villa's a great example.
Yeah, all like to come in off the left. It's a bit of a myth that you're a great goal scorer, you have to play central. I think that's too simplistic, particularly as you say, when he's not brilliant as a link-up with his back to goal. He is better looking towards goal. Cowley always points to the fact as well that he played, when he was at Charlton, they played with a diamond, which meant, and he was the left-sided centre-forward, but because they were playing a diamond, the forwards would often get pushed wide. And he said that was actually what got Karlan his move to Town, was him playing that role for Charlton. That's what got him the move in the first place. So why wouldn't you play him there? It's interesting that Cowley did it basically straight away after he came in. I think it was at the first game against Wednesday. That's when he started.
For me, the last thing you want Karlan Grant doing is having him back to goal on the edge of the box with defenders clipping the ball to his head and someone smashing through the back out of him. I think that's just a complete waste of his talent.
There's one key to it, and it's all stats in the world are brilliant, but it comes down to one thing, and he's got complete belief in himself.
Yeah, he does.
And you take that away, you take away confidence. If you played him an out-and-out winger, you're going to take that away, you're going to strip it back. But he's playing slightly wide, still creating, still scoring. And as long as he's doing that,
it's the creating thing which is a bonus, isn't it?
Absolutely.
He's good at taking the ball past players. You look at that. I actually watched all of the Cowley's goals earlier today, and the way that he makes Fraser Campbell's goal against Millwall, or the way that he makes Schindler's goal against Barnsley, he's sort of even more so than Diakabi, he's the one player who can pick up the ball sort of 30 yards from goal and look up and suddenly beat one or two players just off nothing. Diakabi needs that run up because he needs to be at full pelt pretty much to get it past people. I'm not saying he's not skillful with his feet, but that's when he's at his best. Whereas Grant can pick it up and from a dead start take it past two people. And there's no one else in the town line that can do that. But as you say, if he's playing centrally, he's actually receiving the ball with his back to goal a lot more. And Campbell's a lot better at doing that, particularly with Pritchard not available. Campbell is much better at coming deep, doing that unselfish work.
I was going to say, in a 4-2-3-1 with somebody in that 10 role, he probably would be better centrally, because then it takes that sort of pressure off, where he's got to link, the two-thirds.
If you look at all his goals, though, they are all different.
Yeah.
And the couple that he's made, made the space for the cross for Schindler's goal on Saturday. The Millwall one that he made for Campbell, that was top class supply, because that was so easy.
It was a loose ball, wasn't it, from a tackle, from a Jaden Brown tackle,
and he skipped in, and that would have been so easy as a striker who wants to score a goal just to hit it from a daft angle, and easy save, put it wide, block. But he very, very purposely picked out Campbell's run, and perfect.
What's really good is in the Premier League he was doing that. He was shooting from sort of not silly angles, but from key. He was keen to get his shot off from angles where he probably shouldn't be. So it's testament to Karlan Grant how he's improved that already, in this sort of short space of time as well.
And we criticise his work off the ball, but he particularly in wide areas, he's actually good. Against West Brom, he was basically playing as an extra fullback because they were so narrow, and he actually did a decent job. I think he's not going to do that such a great job of that Fraser Campbell man possessed, chasing down every loose ball. He can do that, but I think Campbell's a little bit more, because he's 10 years older. He knows when to go for it and when not. And I think you can see Grant gets a bit frustrated sometimes doing that role. But pitching in down the sides in particular, I think he does pretty well, to be fair.
Yeah,
it's nice for once to be turning up, knowing that you got a striker on pitch that other team are scared of.
Yeah,
and we haven't had that for a long time. They are
every team. Rhodes generally.
Yeah, I was going to say Rhodes.
Jordan Rhodes.
So how long's that now? Nearly 10 years.
2012 he left, didn't he?
So 7-8 years. So it's
7 years.
We have got a genuine threat. Who is.
It's exciting, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I look very.
Yeah, we sat here and I can feel the sort of everybody's a little bit like, Karlan Grant.
Yeah, as you say, he's
because he's going to be sat listening to this, absolutely buzzing in Spain.
But he's the second top scorer in the Championship at a team that's been in the bottom three almost all season. That's nuts.
But it just shows you where problems have been. I mean, somebody tweeted the other day.
I'm going to say 40 million now.
Somebody tweeted the other day that I think we've only scored one less or the same number of goals as Leeds. It's the defence where they've probably let in about a dozen less than us.
Yeah, they're excellent at keeping the ball. It's different kind of defending, isn't it? Where you keep the ball away from danger, because they play bloody wingers at fullback and all sorts. And I think if you got at them, then they're probably easier to get at. But it's getting the balls the other thing from them. But anyway, for those. Let's go to Twitter and see what the opinion is on Twitter. Jack Boothroyd says he should probably play on the left, maybe centre until we can get a decent striker in Jan. Summer probably. Sean Campbell. Ginger Ogre, who spurned the opportunity to be sat here with us. Neil did pre-warn me that, booking Dan Porritt is like trying to book Ariana Grande for this gig as well. So Dan agrees with you, Stephen. He says he does remind him of Thierry Henry coming from wide areas, a decent middleman as well, but his first touch lets him down. Personally, I think we need to look at someone to spearhead the front three. Thought Mounier would be that man, but doesn't look like he'll get a look in for whatever reason. I think Mounier's probably... Danny Cowley mentioned, didn't he, that he sees Mounier as somebody very much on the end of crosses, and if you're playing those inverted strikers, Mooney he's not bad at holding the ball up, especially if you're under pressure. But he's not going to do that moving around job. He's quite a heavy set figure. He's stacked, isn't he? So he's not as good as Campbell and Grant at sort of doing that scurrying between the lines and crossing out there.
It's an interesting one because what Callie said about Mounier, not to get too sidetracked, is that he sees him as a plan B, but at the moment they're still working on plan A, which is understandable. What is interesting though is that they've just played 2 games against teams with big centre backs where they actually an outlet, particularly against Middlesbrough, an outlet where they could play long for the back and have someone up there winning headers. Callie actually said, "Well, we don't have anyone." That was his defence of Elphick was we could kick it long, but who are we kicking it long to? It's like, well, you've had Steve Mounier on the bench.
I think it's the work off of him, isn't it? They've probably not worked on. But I felt that against Middlesbrough, I thought it was worth throwing him on and hitting diagonals, just something different against that narrow 5.
I think that the sub-use against Middlesbrough, when we only used 2, and you've still got, we mentioned this, we've got £25 million worth of Montpellier garbage sat there.
So mean.
It's true though, isn't it? It's just true. There's not,
we're all nodding. We're all nodding a little bit, aren't we?
But the fact that we've got to the stage in a game that's a 0-0, and in fairness to Cows in previous games, they have gone for it a little bit, like Stoke, for example.
That was the whole game plan.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is the ideal chance probably to go for it. And the fact that he didn't choose to use £25 million worth of Montpellier pretty much sums up where they are in pecking order, and the fact that Benz didn't even met bench again at weekend. So
that's a strange.
I think,
or against Blackburn,
they'll both be gone in January, won't they?
It remains to be seen if anyone will take them, doesn't it? But
somebody will, though. It's football, isn't it? As long as we get the right money.
So let's wrap up Twitter on that one. So Brady Frost, one of our writers, says, I think on the left, Grant's performing well and creating chances for others and himself. Campbell's more experienced at holding the ball up and bringing others into play and winning free kicks for us. When Campbell goes off at 60-70, Grant switches to the middle. Jamie _1739 says, play him in goal and he'll still score, doesn't matter. So Graham Rayner as well, who also spurned an invite. We've had a couple of spurnies.
Are you saying that I'm like the 6th choice guest?
No, you were actually the first. Graham was the 6th.
Spurners, but we've got a first choice anyway.
Graham was the 6th, so I think he must have sensed that. He's never mind. He says he thinks we should vary. If we're in a battle, we need Campbell and Grant, so he plays wide left. If we're expecting to dominate, I prefer to see someone more typical, longer term, like Diakabi and Mbenza. But Neil, you said it, Mbenza. But his caveat is that once the Cowleys have done for Mbenza what they have done for Adama and Bakuna. So we're all hoping that's the case anyway. Craig Blythe says he's best coming in from the left. It's working. Don't change what's working. Danny Cowley knows what he's doing. George Stross 92. He's gone with you, Stephen. He says Campbell is Firmino, Grant is Mane, and Diakabi is Salah. But all joking aside, it seems that Campbell almost plays the false 9 position, which creates space for the wingers. Which
Galley's literally described it as that. Yeah.
Yeah. So Karlan Grant FC. I don't know if this is you or Cozzy, Neil.
Not guilty.
Much prefer the front 3 of Campbell, Grant, and Diakabi, as I feel we can get goals from all over them. But Grant is much more of a threat when in number 9 positions. Kachunga's a hard worker, but doesn't have that end product.
To be fair, and Diakabi's been doing really well recently, but he doesn't give us that end product either. He's more of a threat than Kachunga. Give him that, but
open space a bit.
If
more,
we are going to be playing, if it does, but if we're going to be playing those 3, they've all got to start scoring for us.
Yeah, he does need to hit the back.
It does feel like it's only a matter of time before Diakabi starts scoring. But yeah, I would say again, having watched all the goals today, Diakabi is quite often the man that's gone and created the space up the right, but isn't the one who ends up playing the final ball. He often is the one who plays the ball before the final ball.
It's always good to see those stats, isn't it? See, I think Danny Drinkwater's a classic player of when he's played
the pre-assist, is it called?
Yeah, the pre-assist. Yeah, Baggy Penguin. I don't know if that's sort of a West Brom kind of name, isn't it? Change it, Tony. Grant seems most effective on the left in Cowley's system. They seem to use the central striker as more of a 10 than 9. Gareth Shaw says, in my extremely tactical and very intellectual summary, playing where he wants if he keeps doing what he's doing. And James Bentley, David Crabb and Sam have also been in, and he shoots Coca-Cola, and they've all pretty much said the way it's been used at the moment is completely working for us. And I think we're all in full agreement with that. So thank you very much, guys, for getting in touch on that one.
Then he curves one down the inside right channel. It's brought down by Grant with Sibic accompanying him. Then the cross, far post, goal! Christopher Schindler nipping in at the back stick after Karlan Grant's assist. It was a quickly taken free kick by Simpson. Grant made the break and Christopher Schindler slides the ball into the open goal from close range. It's Town 1, Barnsley 0.
Right, just before we move on to Neil, we're going to come on to the community update in just a moment. Before we do that, I wanted to touch on a tweet from the HTSA, which went out, which says HTFC women players have to pay to play, so we've launched a crowdfunder to cover sponsorship costs. I think this is a great initiative that the HTSA have done, and I think it's something worth raising as well in the broader scheme. 30% of the funds raised will go to Emma Elford, who is the sister of striker Laura Elford, who's been diagnosed with metastatic breast cancer as well. So we'd all, I'm sure, wish the very, very best of luck to Emma Elford as well in that. I quite like women's football. I'm a fan of it. I know women's football does get its detractors from time to time. I do check to see how Huddersfield Town women are doing, and I do know Kate Mallin's a decent player, and David's involved as well at the club. The fifth at the moment, Stephen, in the Northern Premier League. Sunderland, I think, are expected to win that league, aren't they, quite convincingly? But Huddersfield definitely in the mix for second place. Hopefully we'll see them do well over the course of the season, and definitely all the best to Ashley Vickers and his side. Have you got to see much of them?
I've seen a couple of games, just 2 games I think this season. I did speak to Ashley Vickers and David Mallin before the start of the season, and their ambition was just to win that league. And to be honest, they should be. They had a couple of results that they get in games that they really should have won, where they've played beneath themselves.
I think I saw, was it at 4-4? I think I'm going back because I watched the highlights that they put on YouTube. I think they had a 4-4, didn't they, where they looked in command.
They have won games 6-0 and 6-2, but they've also had like frustrating 3-2 defeats and things like that. One of the games I went to was against Stoke, and they actually beat Stoke 2-1, but Stoke absolutely battered them for 75 minutes. They were really...
Stoke are quite high up as well, aren't they?
Yeah, it's a division that I know well because I was the press officer for Doncaster Bells last season, and they were in that division then. They got relegated, but it's a shame though, as you say, that they have to effectively pay to play. They are not under the umbrella of Huddersfield Town all the way at time of recording, and they don't have a share of the sponsorship. They have to pay for their own away trips. They actually did really well in the cups last season and ended up making almost no money from it, because by the time you've paid for the transport, and they had a couple of trips to London, those are overnight stays, that's hotels for everyone. They actually ended up making about David Mallin gave me the numbers. It was like a couple of £100 that they made as profit from getting to the quarterfinals of 2 cups, which is crazy. So, yeah, I mean, at that level, third tier of women's football, there really is too little money. So definitely, if you search for that GoFundMe page for Town Women, and if you can put whatever you can onto there, it really does go, even if it's only a tenner, it really does go a long way in the women's game if you can chip anything in there. And obviously, for Emma Elford as well. Best of luck with the fundraiser. She wants to go travelling around the world, which is what the money's going towards. So so if anybody who maybe wants to sponsor them, I think it's David Mallin that you would get in touch with, isn't it? If you wanted to offer any player sponsorship. That's right, £295 for a season sponsorship. If
you do that, I think you'll be they're very active, aren't they, on Instagram and social media, and your sponsorship. Your company appears, don't you, every time that's right. It's mentioned. So it's a good price for some advertising, and women's football is a rapidly improving and rapidly growing game as well, isn't it? Whereby there's a lot of interest now.
And I know Town Women are very ambitious. If they get promoted, which they would have to win the league and then win a playoff to get into the championship, but they're then into. That's the second tier.
It was West Ham they lost to, wasn't it, last year? And was it in the cup, or they played West Ham?
In the cup, they played West Ham.
It's those kind of teams that you would start to come up against. And they are good.
Well, that's the division that Man U played in last season.
Yeah, absolutely, and they're very good. So all the best to Ashley Vickers, and I think we'll drop in every now and then over the course of the season to wish them the best of luck. And if any of them ever want to come on the podcast, you're more than welcome, especially Ashley Vickers as well, who I think he's got a really good coaching background, hasn't he? I've noticed as well. He's, UEFA licensed and a UEFA licensed goalkeeper coach, so that's obviously of great interest to me, because I think I've told you before, Neil, I used to be a goalkeeper.
You might have mentioned it. Not sure I believe you.
Right. Let's go to you, Neil. So
I think you drop your laptop every week.
Yeah, that is the thud, isn't it? Whenever there's a thud, that's me smacking this laptop. I'm out of practice now.
Who's the better goalkeeper turned broadcaster? You or Matt Glennon?
100% Matt Glennon. Although
definitely somebody called Matt.
That's true.
Although what I will say is, I was very surprised by. We'll move on from the women's singles. Have you seen some of the? I think Matt Glennon's done an interview recently with a Scottish thing, and he's hammered Lee Clark on there. So I think I haven't listened to it fully yet. But if when Matt gets unleashed, I've heard Matt when he's been unleashed before, when he's away from Radio Leeds, can be quite interesting.
He's not shy with an opinion.
No, so if you, I might retweet that. But apparently he's quite harsh on Lee Clark.
I still prefer Phil Senior. And Phil will be coming on soon.
Good lad is Phil. To be honest, as like I say, it's the goalkeepers union thing. So there's not really many goalkeepers I dislike at Huddersfield. I was quite. Phil was a Huddersfield, Kirk Eaton lad, isn't he? So we liked Phil.
Senior is this,
and he, and him and the other lads play for free in that Huddersfield All Stars. With Jacko and Yorith, and you can't dislike anybody who gave up the time to do that. And the other goalkeeper, I'm trying to remember what the other goalkeeper was called. It was Jacob something. He got released from the youth, but
it'll be Ryan Schofield in 20 years, I suppose.
Yeah, but even then, I think all the goalkeepers at that stage was slight incremental upgrades. Rahubka was, apart from his kicking, was quite a decent keeper, and then Matt Glennon was better than Rahubka. But I think Glennon's argument was that he shouldn't have been dropped. But I think Alex Smithies was. Sorry, Matt, but Alex turned out to be a great goalkeeper.
Amazing football manager.
Yeah, he turned out to be a good goalkeeper, so I can't argue with him too much on that. Neil, do you want to give us a rundown of what's happening in the local community?
Yeah. Huddersfield Street Kitchen, the only real news for that is that tonight, and I'm not there, so this doesn't sound good, but tonight we've actually started doing Wednesday nights. We're doing those for the next 3 or 4 months while it's horrible weather.
Same spot.
The open market behind Tesco's in town centre. So we'll still be there every Sunday 12 till 3, but every Wednesday night now 6 till 8. The Wednesday nights we won't be giving out all the clothes and stuff. It is purely to go down and feed people and get them warm. We'll have a few bits knocking about if they want sleeping bags and stuff like that. But it's just purely to help people through the winter struggle, because obviously they're out there 7 days a week, not just one. So try to do us a bit there and break it up.
What can people do if they want to help that effort now?
We're on Twitter at Huddersfield ST2. If you message me on there or on our Facebook page, Huddersfield Street Kitchen, if you've got any donations, whether it be clothing, we're desperate for bloke shoes at the moment, bloke shoes and trainers, but not any old. And I sound like a real... I don't know.
You want to talk to Dave Artrick about trainers?
You don't want stuff.
He's got about 40 pairs.
Yeah.
I'll give you his number.
Yeah, double it, and that's where I am. I'm a bit of an obsessed. Where trainers, I'll give loads away down there as well. But
he's got like this full walking wardrobe of trainers, haven't you?
Yeah, shoes are just obviously they're walking around 7 days a week. They wear them out. So we are actually going to start putting together some winter packs. So if people want to donate brand new socks, scarves, hats, gloves, that kind of stuff, we're going to be giving these winter packs out starting next month. Andy's Man Club, just short of 70 there again this week at Huddersfield. The numbers are just consistently high now, which is, although you can argue it's bad because people need it, it's brilliant because it's there. Still doing great things. They've just been donated a new car after the last one went back. They've been given a nice big bright orange Ford Ranger, which looks the absolute bee's knees. And a friend of mine, Gaz Hunter, who did all the signage for the Street Kitchen, Hunter Graphics, he has put all the signage, all the livery on that vehicle today. So I'll put some pictures up on Twitter and link everybody so he can see that it looks phenomenal. And all we ask with, obviously, the Andy's Man Club stuff is when you see the stuff on Facebook and Twitter, like it, share it, retweet it. Every little retweet that we get, if one man sees it, that's what it's all about at the end of the day, just getting to that one man. And people, you just need to realise that by spreading the message as far and wide as you do and helping us get that word out, we are genuinely saving lives. It's as simple as that. So keep on sharing and liking and retweeting, please.
Okay, I'm gonna throw something in as well.
Let me just say, the car was donated to Man Club by Mailbox UK. So thank you very much for that. It's phenomenal.
Awesome. Excellent. So part of our new strategic partnership with Magic Rock as well. Magic Rock do a lot of work with the Welcome Centre, which is a huge food bank in the north of England. So if you want to look at the Welcome Centre, it's thewelcomecentre.org. What they do is they a little bit similar, but they help local families and individuals in crises with food, toiletries, other essential items. And what they do is they provide guidance and address any underlying issues with what they go on. And last year they gave out over 14,000 crisis packs, which is pretty amazing, which equated to around 239,000 meals across the north, which is fantastic. One of the largest food banks in the north of England. If you want to donate to the Welcome Centre, the Magic Rock have 2 blue wheelie bins at the front as you're going around the back. For anyone who doesn't know where Magic Rock is, it's Willow Park Business Centre on Willow Lane in Huddersfield, but it's not too far from B&M, towards Birkby. It's great as well. It looks like a warehouse when you go to Magic Rock, and then you kind of go around the corner and it all opens up into an outdoors, and the tap room in there is really good. And I've not been paid to say that. I do actually rate Magic Rock quite highly. I'm a customer before I went in. But yeah, donations of food and goods you can drop off at the blue wheelie bins at the front of Magic Rock. And again, it's that time of year, Neil, where people are looking at warm stuff. The coats I think is mostly what the Welcome Centre are looking for, as well as tinned foods as well. And if you do donate tinned food, just double check to make sure it's still in date, because obviously no one wants to get ill today from it.
It's even little stuff like when you go and do your weekly shopping, just chuck an extra tin of soup in, or a tin of beans or whatever. It's cost. It doesn't have to be best brands, doesn't have to be most expensive. You can go out and get a tin of soap for 20p. Yeah. So next time you're out doing your shopping, just chuck a tin of soap in for 20p. It all makes a massive difference.
The Welcome Centre as well is one of the places that the donations, the food bank donations on match days go there.
Yeah.
So as you say, just grab something extra, even if it's smart price.
Yeah.
Tomatoes or beans or whatever. Just grab an extra one, take it to the next town game, just drop it in the bins. Not the bins, the collection bins.
The blue bins, yeah.
Yeah.
Blue bins.
Hi, I'm Sean Jarvis, and my favourite goal has to be from one of my friends, which is Tony Cars, and of course that left foot volley.
Right, guys, let's move on to our second topic of the evening. It's the EDT team. So last week, one of our regulars at Couple 8 Cake, John Smith, I'm still positive that's not his real name, but he wanted us to talk a little bit about
John Smith or Couple 8 Cake?
I think Couple 8 Cake's more likely than John Smith, to be honest. But the EDT team, he wanted to talk specifically more about the
development
academy.
team.
Yeah, the EDT. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, the EDT team. I'm not going to cut that
Just
out.
knowing John, he will appreciate me saying that.
That's fine. Yes, EDT, Elite Development Team. So he wanted us to talk more about the academy in general, but I think what we might try and do is do more of an academy special with a guest at some point. So we'll probably hold fire on that. So what would be quite fun to do. So with the recent successes of Lewis O'Brien, Jaden Brown, Ryan Schofield, I know Jaden Brown was signed and then went out on loan, so he's not technically an EDT. But he has played a handful of games, so you can kind of throw him in there. And Ryan Schofield, who's been at the club since he was about 9 years old, probably even younger.
Yeah.
I thought it'd be interesting if we take a look at who else that we may expect to come through from the EDT ranks. Usually what we get, we sometimes get direct messages from accounts on Twitter that kind of say, do you mind retweeting this and whatnot, and usually me being the ambivalent chap I am, I go, yeah, okay, no problem. And one that asked for a retweet this week was one called Mazzala Scout.
Yeah.
Mazzala is a very hipster term for a midfielder. I think it's a midfielder who plays between the lines, isn't it? Between a wide and central. Football Manager speak, I think. So they actually asked for a tweet about some stats, and I actually looked at it and thought, these are quite interesting, these. So probably worth a follow, actually, Mazzala Scout at the moment. They mentioned 7 players who featured for us at Barnsley were under 23, 5 starters and 2 substitutes, which is something, to be honest, I didn't really realise it was that much. Two of them we don't actually own, but still, it's good to see young players get a spend. Grabara and Chalobah, yeah. So they're both 20. So Jayden Brown's 20, Bakuna's 22, Lewis O'Brien 21, Karlan Grant 22, and Adama Diakabi, it's easy to forget Adama Diakabi, still only 23 years of age. So Dean Whitehead's side has seen some impressive results lately, mainly I think due to the form probably of Josh Koroma and Reece Brown has been smashing it a little bit for them as well. So in October they've beaten Halifax 4-1, Rangers 5-1, and Rangers at the start of the summer gave us an absolute smashing. I think they put 10 past us in a friendly over the summer. And then Crawley were beaten 7-2 as well in an EDT game. And the under 18/under 17s out there, really. They're continuing in the Youth Alliance Cup as well. So there are a number of good results starting to happen. I know it's not all about results on the field, it's more so about development. And I think this new setup, one thing that this new setup does is it allows for more personal and player development rather than just a results-oriented business, which a lot of clubs are sort of too focused on results, I find, especially at youth level. So we'll talk about some possibilities. D'Amico Dehaney he made his first start for Boston the other night. A 2-1 loss to York, but it's good to see D'Amico get on the field. He's one that will be interesting, I think, over the next 6 months. Dom Tier as well, Harrogate lad, released by Leeds when he was younger, picked up by Town at under 14 from Harrogate Railway. I think we brought 3 in from Harrogate Railway at that moment in time. There was a striker, I think his surname was Ibrahim, who ended up going to Leeds, and a defender as well who sadly didn't make it as far as Dom Tier, but he's on loan at Gateshead at the minute in the National League. He's made 9 appearances, 1 goal, 2 assists. Really good, hard-working player is Dom Tier. And Stephen, another player out on loan that you're a big fan of, is Romani Edmonds-Green as well.
Yeah, player with a massive future, I think. Just a very composed defender, reads the game really well, incredibly quick. Played a few games in pre-season and was excellent, and played against Lincoln, of course, early this season with Jon Stankovic, which was a game where I think only he and Ryan Schofield really emerged with any credit.
Other than Ryan Schofield, he was our best player on night, best outfield player.
Well, yeah,
by a long way.
Yeah, Dave Hartrick is a massive fan of Romani, and yeah, good lad as well. That's the other thing with a lot of these players that are coming through. You talk to Lewis O'Brien, Ryan Schofield, Ben Jackson. They're all got their heads screwed on. Like they just seem like good lads who understand that they're in quite a privileged position and understand that they're doing a job that a lot of people would love to do and speak very well and come across like just genuinely good lads, which is I know that they do spend a lot of time looking into the character of the players that they sign, and you can see that's coming off when you look at how the likes of Lewis O'Brien and Jayden Brown are doing in the first team now.
Okay, so there's a couple of under-19s as well which there's little flashes. So I tend to not go to as many games as what I used to do. I've got my own little footballer now, so my time's a little bit limited in terms of that. But we still always try and watch the games where they're streamed and the highlights. And there's a couple of players, probably Danny Cowley. Neil mentioned Josh Osterfield recently as well. He's a midfielder that seems to be coming through, and Danny Cowley's quite keen on him, and Cian Harrott as well.
Been going about them both, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Which is, you don't really get that either. They don't normally start naming these younger players, and it can be sort of seen as putting a bit of pressure on them. But yeah. I think he clearly thinks that these two are, at some point, I think it's one of those where I think at some point this season, you probably see them getting minutes on the bench, not necessarily getting minutes on the pitch, but just being around, in amongst the 18, which will do them world of good. Or alternatively they'll get sent out for first team football. I know a few people have sort of been decrying the loan out to Boston for Dehaney, but it's about going out and playing man's football in football.
Quite useful,
The other thing with Dehaney is that he's had a lot of injuries, and I think they see as much as anything else just the chance to play competitive football regularly.
Yeah.
The other thing is
as well.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the Counties have talked about they know they've managed in every division down to the 9th tier, and they said they know how hard those divisions are.
Yeah.
They know the clubs, they've got good connections, and they say it is about finding the right club for the right player at the right time. And they did say that in D'Amico Dehaney's case, it was a matter of getting the fitness into him, getting playing regularly. I mean, Rahmani Edmonds-Green was at Brighouse last season, and he says that playing that physical game is nothing like what you get at the under-23s. And
it's men's football.
Yeah, exactly.
And it means, that they're out playing for points, whatever level it is, they're out there playing for 3 points on a Saturday afternoon.
Yeah.
And you can't replicate that with under-23, under-21 football. You just can't do that.
Some others that I think, Matt, I don't know if you were going to come on to them, but Matty Daly. I know that they're a big fan of Matty Daly.
He got an amazing goal, didn't he, the other day?
Yeah.
He threw a good chip from the edge of the box. Outstanding.
18-year-old playmaker. Got a couple of games in the Premier League last season. I know that they are big fans of him, but it's obviously not the time now to throw in an 18-year-old. No. But he's another one who, towards the end of the season, maybe you might, particularly if Town get to a position where they're safe or next to safe by the end of March, you might see him get a couple of starts towards the end of the season.
It may be interesting if we see that, and then that all of a sudden that problem number 8 position may be solved. You never know, do you? With that happens. Another player, Neil, that made a few appearances at the end of last year, and you quite liked him, was Aaron Rowe as well. Quite quick, quite pacey, couple of skills. He's another one. They've all got a chance, haven't they? It's mostly up to them with what they're going to do with this opportunity. And Jacob Chapman looks quite a decent prospect.
Things we don't want to put too much pressure on him, do we? But the likes of Aaron Rowe, I think one of the reasons we got so excited last season because he was a breath of fresh air in amongst the horribleness that was going on around us. Everything about it was stinking place out, and then you get little players like him coming in and giving it some, fearless, and showed us that there's a future there for him. I think a lot of us were surprised that he's actually not seen anything much pre-season.
He's another one who had a couple of injuries, I think, Aaron Rowe. Yeah.
Because he did well. He actually played out of position away at Doncaster pre-season.
Well, that's the other thing is that he plays a position where, probably the position where Town had the most competition at the start of the year. Yeah. He was always going to struggle to get. But Kelly has said that he wants to get loans for as many of these players as possible for the reasons we discussed.
Absolutely.
It helps them grow up, doesn't it?
Yeah, you just can't replicate.
You can't.
Another player I quite like is Scott High. I think he's quite a nice technical player. Is Scott High?
He's the Academy Player of the Year last year, wasn't he? And he's captain of the EDT, I believe.
Is Harrod the one who would just score ridiculous amounts of goals, whichever age?
Harrod scored almost a goal a game for the under-17s and then went up to the under-19s and was scoring there as well.
Yeah, released by Barnsley for being too small. Town picked him up and he's grown.
It's a policy that they've got because what you often see is there is a massive bias in football towards players who were born early in school years. September, October, and Town try to ignore that as much as they can, and they actually have a policy of actually looking for those players who were born sort of June, July, August, who other clubs might not consider.
Because they catch up eventually.
Exactly. And they always shift. They look to shift the cut-off ages every couple of years as well to make sure that they're not letting people fall through the cracks for those reasons.
One player which interests me a little bit is go back down to sort of the under-17s, and we won't go too much into that because they've got a long way to go. But Luke Daly was signed from Port Vale, and one of the local newspapers compared him to a cross between Leroy Sané and Ryan Giggs, which is big praise. Liverpool wanted him. Apparently, he chose to come to Huddersfield over Liverpool because the pathway seemed more clear. Huddersfield were playing him left back, Stephen. Which is an interesting one, Leroy Sané at left back. But it's something that they do, isn't it? They tend to shift them around a little bit to learn other roles, and maybe
I think
maybe they've seen something there with Luke Daly.
And I think comparisons like that can be, a little bit trumped up, shall we say? But I mean, it's clear that Town need a left back. It could be that if he really is that much of a talent, they might be trying to accelerate it so that he's in contention next year. And there are a lot of wingers that come through at full back as well.
Jayden Brown's a former striker as well, so he's it's full of that. And
well, Newtown winger Flo Haddisham.
Neil's face has dropped a little bit.
That's what I was laughing at.
Yeah, Neil's not looking at Twitter right now. There's some other good players in the under-17s who may stand a chance, but it's a long way off. So Diarra Diaby, Midgley as well, Ben Midgley, the captain as well, has got a chance, and definitely we'd like to wish them all best of luck, because there's no greater feeling, Neil, is there, when a player from the local area comes through the academy like Ryan Schofield, and it feels like one of us or one of your mates has made it.
We love it, don't we?
Yeah.
I think most football fans in country love seeing, as Fraser Campbell gets now, he's one of our own. You know, and it's took Fraser Campbell 20 years to get back to Huddersfield, but you do like to see your own players in there. But I think it also reinforces the fact that it's going to get to January soon, and people are going to want Town throwing out millions here and millions there and millions everywhere else. But it shows you that you don't have to spend millions, because you look at all our players who are succeeding, have lifted us where we are at the moment. Karlan Grant, less than 2 million. Simpson, 3. It's Bakuna, not a lot of money.
Yeah, Campbell, 3.
Grabara, loan.
Jayden Brown, 3.
It's all, you don't have to spend...
Elphick, 3.
Exactly. You don't have to spend absolute fortunes to get players. It's about getting the right players.
Just be clever, but just not too clever sometimes.
Yeah.
I think is what we're looking for. But yeah, good luck to all the young lads. Definitely, it's something. When I remember following Huddersfield around when John Worthington was captain, and I played in the same school team as him once or twice. He was too good for our school team, so Huddersfield didn't let him play that much. But he stepped up and played, and it's one of those things where John Worthington said before in private that all he had was a big tackle. You know what I mean? But
Excuse me.
But he was, challenge, we'll say. But when you see them play up close, they are absolute next level. And he was. I remember him getting the ball as a 15-year-old playing in the sixth form team at Wycliffe Mount, and he turned and ran at the defence, and it was just something that you don't see, this turn, this pirouette and turn, and he was off, and it was just all done fast in a flash. And sometimes you can see those who stand out at a level, and especially if they come from Gummersall like he did, and everybody, it's great to get behind, and hopefully a lot of these lads make it through. So we'll have a look. We had a couple on Twitter. John Smith, Speak of the Devil, Cupplate Cake, says Matty Daly, who he'd like to see on a 6-month loan, and Simon Copland has thrown in Reece Brown. Reece Brown's obviously 23, but he's on the fringes. Is Reece Brown, and he hopes the FA Cup presents an opportunity for Reece Brown, Josh Caroma, and Matty Daly. If they're not playing the trade on loan as well.
I think Cromer will be gone on loan from what they've said about last week.
Again, as many as they can get out, I think. Yeah. You have to remember Caroma's come up from National League. It's a big step. And I know Reece Brown is 23. The thing I would say with him is he lost a couple of years of his development through his own issues. Yeah. He had some attitude problems. They couldn't get him into the gym at Birmingham and things like that. By all accounts, those days are well past him. That move to Forest Green did in the world of good. But
vegan diet.
Yeah, but it's worth remembering with him. He is 23, but he's probably at the stage of probably a similar stage of development to a player who's 20 or 21.
Right, yeah. So Twitter's just full of opinion, and Caroma seems to be the outstanding theme. So we'll move on to Those Were the Days.
Now Darren Bullock. It's the last penalty, and if he scores from this, they are through to the final. And Huddersfield are there. Darren Bullock is the hero.
In goes Robbins. And coming from the free kick, taken short to Brown, and Robbins making a dart across the face of the defenders, a perfect header. Brown gets a flick, Fletcher!
Jepson's there, Billy's in! A goal, Chris Billy, Huddersfield Town! The most famous goal of Chris Billy's life.
So those were the days. We're looking at this 79-80 season and 94-95. So 79-80 Huddersfield in October put quite a decent run together. Neil, this is one thing that I'm looking at the results, which I always found strange looking at sort of older football scores. Huddersfield lost 3-1 at home to Portsmouth on the 13th of October 1979, but in a crowd of like 16,500. And the previous game was at home against Wigan, which was 7,800. So it's like almost like doubled. And then the previous one to that,
promotion challenges with us, though, and people did tend to just turn up.
And Wigan's
big games.
Wigan's always been a rugby town as well, even in the Premier League. They never sold out.
Crew were up there as well. Before that was like 5,500. It always amazes me when you see kind of like those kind of things developing a little bit as well. So Huddersfield over that time put a good run together in October, beating Crewe, Peterborough, Wigan and Bournemouth, but losing to rivals Portsmouth. And in 94-95, there was a bit of a game against Crewe Alexandra, which you might remember. Martin Booty played for Crewe in this game, is a name for it we probably won't remember with much fondness. But a 3-3 draw at Crewe on the 22nd of October 1994 with goals from Jepson, Billy and Booth. And for some reason, I've got the highlights of that game imprinted in my head as well. Two players we'll pick out. I'm not even going to consult the magic book for this, but Keith Hanvey was one. We're going to look at sort of centre-back partners. Keith Hanvey, Neil, can you remember much about old Keith back in the day? I know he came back to Huddersfield as a
thick blonde mane. Thick blonde mane. He had really thick blonde hair. Not exactly quick, shall we say, but it was Dave Sutton's partner.
And Dave Sutton's the one we covered last week. We also covered Pat Scully last week.
He actually went on to work for Leeds as commercial director, something like that, I think.
Yeah, as a compare. I think the book says he's as a compare. Runs his own commercial firm. Lee Sinnott was Pat Scully's partner. Remember Lee Sinnott, very much a no-nonsense kind of defender, went on to managing non-league. He did a good job at Bradford Park Avenue, and Town had his son as well, Jordan, at Huddersfield as well. Jordan always looked like a nice player who looked like he was going to make it, but sadly just fell a little bit short, didn't he? Yeah. And but yeah, Lee Sinnott, good solid centre half, signed from Bradford City for around 150,000. Playing the top flight for Crystal Palace.
He signed the same day as Lee Duxbury, and Graham Mitchell went all the way.
It's a good Christmas present. I remember that back in '94, especially when you knew a few Bradford fans like we did.
Seething they were.
But Leeds are getting it straight to Moy again, who shoots. What a goal, Aaron Moy! An absolute thunderbolt delivered all the way from Australia.
Right, we'll come on to our last topic, which is the next 6 games. So usually we look forward to the game ahead, but I thought what was quite interesting, guys, is we had the form tables published over the weekend, and I think the standout bit from the form table was Huddersfield Town sit at the very, very top with 3 wins, 3 draws, plus 5 goal difference at 12 points, which is 1 point more than Brentford, Fulham, West Brom and Sheffield Wednesday have. Nice surprise this, and good to see that the Cowleys are getting a little bit of consistency, especially considering where we've come from.
To be honest, I'm not surprised with the Cowleys because they're efficient, aren't they? They know what they're doing. They laid the plans out. Apparently on the training ground, it's very, very clear of what they are doing. Everyone knows their job. Everyone knows the person next to them's job and the person next to them's job. And I'm not surprised with the run of form we've gone on, to be honest.
I would say, Matt, have you got the form table there in front of you?
I only have the top 6.
Right. I was going to say, because if you look at the other end of that, just not to bring it down too much, I'm going to play the Cosy role.
No, it's right.
But if you look at the other end of that table, it is Blackburn and Barnsley and Middlesbrough. It's the teams that they've just played, the last 6 that they've just played, a lot of them. But it's a very different prospect, the next 6, isn't it?
Yeah, so we've got Brentford on Saturday, a sellout away end, which is fantastic. Huddersfield Town's London branch selling out, and a lot travelling down for the last game.
I think it's because it's last game at Griffin Park, innit?
It is, and then the week after we've got Preston North End away.
We
Preston
never get out at Preston, but beat.
Preston sat second. Amazingly, Leeds United used to get everything at Preston when Simon Grayson was manager. That's an interesting record you should look up. Birmingham City at home follows on the 23rd after the international break. Birmingham surprisingly up there. They're up in 11th. I think a lot of people thought they'd be relegation material, but they seem to be.
They might be. Yeah.
They might. The championship.
That's how the league is. Yeah.
They're moving on quite nicely, but The rumours that they might have money to spend as well coming up in January, which is a bit of a change for where they've been over the last
they've had a transfer
year or two.
embargo, haven't they?
Yeah, so that's an interesting one.
Money to spend, pinch of salt.
And then Swansea at home on a Tuesday night, which for me, I look at this and I've seen Swansea have kind of tailed a little bit, and I think I'm hoping that they're maybe in a false position and Swansea might be a game we can take, but they seem to be just starting to realign, although they got a good result against Cardiff as well, who were also a little bit inconsistent. And then a ridiculous price of 30 odd quid at Ashton Gate for Bristol City, which is very harsh, coming in the run up to Christmas. 32, 33 quid, Neil, to go away to Bristol City.
I'm not paying that for going out of Bristol. No chance.
And then we round up that six game spree with a home derby against the Chesties down at John Smith Stadium before a Tuesday night game against Charlton to round up a 7 there, because Charlton are up there as well. So it's a tough run. And do you think this could be a defining period, in terms of the recovery, or do you think that maybe that's a bit over-egging the next 6 games a little bit?
It's championship, innit? I'll tell you in 6 games' time. There's absolutely no way. If you'd asked us the next 6 results 6 games ago, who's coming out with 3 wins and 3 draws?
Yeah.
Probably very few. And I think there's been a mixed reaction to this. Some people saying we'll be lucky to get a win and a draw. Other people saying
bring it on.
They'll be happy with 12 points. I tell you what, I'll be delighted with 12 points out of the 6.
Yeah.
Do you think if we'd have had this run like 3 weeks ago, we'd be looking at this the same though?
No.
Because I think now we're looking at this and we're going, we could beat them. We could possibly beat them. And it's better
we can
than
beat any of them.
Yeah.
There's absolutely no doubt we can beat any of them. But if somebody offered me 8 points now, I'd take that.
Yeah, exactly. If they get more than a point a game out of this run of 7 games, then I think that's pretty good going. The other thing, and I wrote a piece about this today, is it might actually suit Huddersfield to play against teams that are looking to take the game to them and that aren't, because they've just played against a few teams that will have been looking to negate Town's strengths, whereas they're now going into a run of games against teams that are going to look to do their own thing. And the reason I was looking at all those goals they scored for the Cowleys is because I wanted to see, to sort of prove this point, which is 7 of the 11 goals they scored have been moves that started in Town's own half. So if they're playing against teams that are coming onto Town, there's space. If they
break opportunity.
If that defence can stay solid, and it is a big if, because they chipped 4 to West Brom, and but they have had 3 clean sheets in the last 4 games, is it? Yeah. If that defence can stay solid, then they have real threat on the counter attack, and they might actually, given how ponderous they are with the ball at their feet, those games might actually suit them quite well. I'm not saying that they're going to get 12 points out of it like they did from the last 6, but I wouldn't be that surprised if they did get.
When you've got players like Karlan Grant in your team, and go back to him again, you've always got a chance in this league, because he's going to get a few goals in those games.
Yeah.
That's what he does.
Yeah, I think 8 points is probably a good. 2 wins, 2 draws, 2 losses would be.
Yeah,
I think that represents. I think that represents a good period and a good turnover, especially from where we've been, and it keeps the momentum going. Because essentially, what we want to see is us eventually close that gap on that top 11, 12.
Yeah, I did work out that if they spend the rest of the season going win, draw, loss, they would finish about 16th.
Which I think a few weeks ago would be quite happy with.
Yeah, exactly.
On there. So that's it. Anybody? So we don't really. So Neil, you don't fear anybody coming up in this specific run?
No,
really.
No, not since these two have taken over. I don't think they don't fear anybody. Why should we? And we have, like I said, we have got arguably the best striker in the division.
Brentford seems to be coming back into a little bit of form, Stephen. So Ben Rama is a player in particular who is really sort of turning heads in the championship. And
Ollie Watkins level with Grant in the goal scoring table.
Yeah, they seem to. He's moved central, hasn't he, recently? Yeah. His pace is quite frightening.
Well, Brentford's last 3, they've won all 3 and scored 3 in all of them. So they were, when we did the pre-season, I think a couple of us tipped them to be going up, and they had a bad start, but they seem to be hitting their stride a bit now. They're a bit fragile at the back at times, which is again why I think it might be a game that suits Town in some ways, but Brentford are odds-on favourites.
Yeah.
So to get any away point in the Championship is good. So if they can get a point out of that game, I'd be quite happy with that.
You'd take 2 points out of these next two.
Yeah, Preston are up there in
definitely.
second, and they've got a couple of good players. Tom Barkley's got in the team of the month for October, and he's a player who's really developed over the last few years. And it's Daniel Johnson, isn't it, the central midfielder who looks to have kicked on as well. So I think if there's one team apart from us that I would like to get promoted from the Championship, it'd be Preston. They're just one of those teams who've not done anything for it. They remind me of us, where we hadn't been in the top flight for 40 odd years.
We never get out at Preston. I've had so many wasted trips there. I don't care if they don't go up.
And
ruined them in a way.
That aside, that sort of bitterness aside about never getting anything at Preston, they're one of these teams.
That's probably a reason why I get rid of them. I suppose.
They're one of these teams because I don't think they've been in the top flight since the 50s. So I think it's their time, and then they're just one of those teams where I just think, it's your time, and it'd be great to see them go up. Great manager.
They have around the sort of the turn of the millennium, they seem to finish third or fourth every year. Their record in the playoffs is absolutely shocking.
Graham Alexander, Chris Lucchetti, didn't they, around the time, and a few other sort of hard-working players, and it just didn't happen.
Never happened for them.
Yeah, but who knows? Maybe this year's their year, and if they go up, I'd certainly be quite pleased for them. It means, Neil, that we wouldn't have to go there again next season if we didn't follow them. So,
although saying that, Preston was one of the best games at promotion season.
At home, the free kick the penalty we got was definitely an interesting one from Jordan Hugill. But that's it. So I'll read out some of the Twitter comments. Yeah, so the few that we had. Simon Copland, who another one who spurned the opportunity to be on here tonight because he's working in London, is Simon. So I'm sure he's listening. So
7th choice.
All the best, Simon. Yes. His optimistic hat on, he says 6 points from the next 2 home games and 2 points on the road, so 8 points. So he agrees with us. So it's a good job he's not here because it'd be all very boring, wouldn't it? So
we came up with that independently as well. We hadn't even read that.
Yeah, Joseph McGregor, one of our listeners in America. Always good to hear from Joseph, and he looks a little bit like Michael McIntyre as well. He's probably someone who wouldn't get that reference, but Google that one, Joseph. Not sure it's the acid test because the Cowleys are working on a project that is going to take much longer than the stretch of games they've been here for. More of a measurement than a test, and I think that's a good way of looking at that as well. And he thinks they've kept their unbeaten run. Oliver as well says 6 is a decent result. Chris Carter, our new musician, is looking at 1 win and 3 draws, which will give us 6 points. But Brentford, he says, we could possibly get a point there as well, and Swansea a win. And the majority here from Allen Lee, HTFC Dukes, Craig Blythe. They all go for 6 points. Andrew Brown goes for 8. Richard Farron 6. Baggy Penguin's a little bit more optimistic though. He said he could go for 10 points. So he's definitely living the Cowley dream at the minute. So and so is Wayne Lockwood, who says 10 points as well. So thank you for everyone who's got in touch with us on this one. And Tom Finnegan has sort of said he'd like to have it'd be good to play some better opponents, and then one of his Leeds mates has jumped in and it's going to end in a scrap by the looks of things, which is all fun and games. So thanks to everyone for getting in touch, apart from Alex there, and interesting times coming up over the next 6 games. Right, I think that wraps up another episode of Andy Takes That Chance. So what we'll do is we'll go out with a little bit of music again from our new Andy Takes That Chance musician, Chris Carter. So thank you very much for everybody for getting in touch, and thank you again to everybody for sending in your questions and your tweets, and we really appreciate all the feedback that we get. So thank you very much, and here's hopefully to some success over the next few weeks.
Oh, what a night, late in May in 2017, Schindler's story was a heavenly dream. What a feeling, what a night. Oh, what a night. Wagner singing, we are Premier League. The greatest sight St. George's Square at sea. What a feeling, what a night. Oh, I got a funny feeling.